This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. President Trump's rather remarkable, story-filled State of the Union speech last night. I want to get to some of the individuals he highlighted, heroes and victims, the stories that were told, poignant and inspiring. But there was one comment that he made that probably won't get picked up by much of the D.C. press corps because they wouldn't even understand the point of it.
What's that?
And I don't know if Trump fully internalizes it either, but it's important to hear the president say it. And this was his New American Moment portion of the speech that I wanted to pick up on. There was something very important that he said that isn't said enough, isn't recognized enough by politicians, people in positions of power in government. Trump on the New American Moment. See if you can pick up what I'm referencing.
This, in fact, is our new American moment. There has never been a better time to start living the American dream. So to every citizen watching at home tonight, no matter where you've been or where you've come from, this is your time. If you work hard, if you believe in yourself, if you believe in America, then you can dream anything. You can be, and together we can achieve absolutely anything. Tonight, I want to talk about what kind of future we're going to have and what kind of a nation we're going to be. All of us together as one team, one people, and one American family can do anything. We all share the same home, the same heart, the same destiny, and the same great American flag. Together, we are rediscovering the American way. In America, we know that faith and family, not government and bureaucracy, are the center of American life. The motto is, "In God we trust."
So the D.C. press corps will pick up on the first 90 seconds of that, where he makes the play for unity, which he's made before.
Yeah.
But the key statement that he made the entire night, the key statement that came from the president, is that faith and family are at the center of America, not government. And point of fact, just to develop that, faith and family are the only real long-term restraints on government at any level. And to the extent that you see government and politicians pursue policies that undermine religious freedom, that undermine the family structure, you are growing government such that we are a government-centric society and not a free society anymore. Family and faith are the restraints on government. It cannot be said enough. It's not internalized by enough. And I'm glad that the president said it, even if sometimes he doesn't act in furtherance of it. For more on the State of the Union, we're pleased to be joined by our friend Tim Carney, senior political columnist for the Washington Examiner. Tim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for having me. And before you get to what you want to talk to me about, I want to double down on what you just said with a slight amendment: faith, family, and community. And it's important, I think, to point that out, that for a lot of us, when we say faith, we mean our church community. But faith is also an individual thing. But I have to say that without that local community, whether it's government, a congregation, a swim club, whatever it is, if that's necessary for faith and family to be strong, and so local community I always look at as that is the real check on government. That when Democrats say government is the things we do together, we have to say no. Actually, this swim club, this PTA, this parish breakfast are the things we do together. Government at best is one of the things we do together, and at worst is the thing that our politicians do to us.
I take that friendly amendment to completely agree. It's what de Tocqueville wrote about in Democracy in America. It's what our friend we just had on last week, Patrick Deneen from Notre Dame, soon to not be the Fighting Irish, but from Notre Dame, talked about it in his new book, how liberalism failed. And no, that's precisely right.
And I was glad that Donald Trump did mention that. And the point we make in our Washington Examiner editorial is that there's a bit of a shift in from the normal Trump rhetoric. Now, obviously, this is a speech that is written by many speechwriters, not just by Stephen Miller, like many of his campaign speeches, and not just sort of ad-libbed like the average Donald Trump speech. And the shift is that he talked about faith and family more than he talked about sort of him being a strong leader or him having success. And the other important thing was the word strong and strength showed up a lot. I think I counted 13 times that those words showed up. But normally when he would talk about this, there were those sort of disturbing moments in the campaign or early on where he praised Putin for being strong leader or talked about Rodrigo Duterte, the Southeast Asian sort of strongman, and praise those guys. And so we said this is sort of a scary totalitarian strength. But last night the strength was a sort of collective strength or the strength of an average man. It was about the people, individuals, and communities being strong more than about the central state being strong. And it reminded me, you was talking about Houston and then after seeing Joe Kennedy, the way we often use the word strong in American culture, Boston strong, Houston strong, communities pulling together, not the central state having lots of power. So I thought that was a very salutary shift in the State of the Union, and that we thought was notable enough. That's what our Examiner editorial on this morning.
Yeah, and he wants to work with both parties. There was a message of unity as well, and about 45 minutes into his address, he talked about immigration and letting 1.8 million people, dreamers, stay here in the country. But there was some hissing going on by the Democrats when he briefly rolled out his plan.
Yes, there were a couple moments in there where I think Trump was trying to and was successful at driving a wedge between the Democrats and the majority of the country. This is typical politics. I think that Bill Clinton did it better than anybody else. Bush and Obama tried to do it, where where the Democrats are, that they can't applaud something you're going to say, and that most of the people are on your side. And a sort of end to chain migration combined with the sort of compassionate thing for the policy for people who were brought in here as children and either brought in illegally or overstayed their visas, that's a compromise that most American people like, but it increasingly looks like something that Democrats are not happy to take. So at best, Trump is sort of pressuring the Democrats into taking this deal they don't want to take, and at worst, he's highlighting that how far they are from the American public.
Can we get bipartisan agreement, do you think, on this truism that I identified yesterday, that Oregon Senator Ron Wyden is the spitting image of Super Dave as Funkhauser on Curb Your Enthusiasm? I mean, is that not true?
I think that the more interesting appearance last night was Congressman Joe Kennedy, the third generation of Kennedys. Both his sort of striking Irish look. One of my colleagues said under his breath, "Man, what a ginger!" when Kennedy went on stage, which I think maybe should be the next name for Notre Dame.
Yeah, sure.
Team.
Yeah, the Gingers. Yeah, I like that.
But also the unfortunate lip balms that was distracting everybody from what Joe Kennedy was saying on TV.
Well, do you think he was effective at all? I mean, it sounds to me, it felt to me as if he was just reading a script, that he didn't feel anything, where President Trump's was more genuine.
It's hard to read
passion.
and not sound like you're reading. This was actually, I was just thinking about Barack Obama, and a lot of people criticize Barack Obama for all his use of a teleprompter. But what was notable was that Obama could read from a teleprompter and sound like he meant it. Have you guys tried this? I've done it before, and I've read from a teleprompter and sounded intelligible, but I didn't sound genuine. It's really hard to do.
Yeah.
So, so Joe Kennedy having trouble with that. Trump just gets sort of weirdly muted to the point where in the beginning of his talks when he's speaking from a teleprompter, everybody's wondering what sort of medication he took to just chill out and do it. And it has a positive effect, and I don't know why. Maybe it's just because we're all sort of bracing for sort of weird Trump and flying off the rails Trump, and so when he's acting calm, we sort of relax. So it's interesting watching Trump read.
Well, last night we got storyteller Trump, and I got to tell you, he was a pretty good storyteller. I mean, he had good material to work with. They're incredible stories, unbelievable stories. But I mean, I cannot recall a more powerful moment during a State of the Union address than that young man from North Korea holding up his crutches and kind of thrusting them up in the air like as a defiant symbol for freedom. I mean, is there a better moment that you can recall in a State of the Union?
No, that was great. As a New Yorker, when the subway hero was invoked, a guy jumped on the tracks and pinned a child to the ground so that he wouldn't get run over by the train and was on top to protect himself. That was a really touching moment because of the backstory, but the visuals of the man there and the unreal circumstance that he fled from, and then the having the actual prop of the crutches was great. And again, back to sort of our original point, these are my favorite parts of the State of the Union address, and even Obama did this for all of his big governmentism. He had to say, because this is something Americans believe, and a politician, however collectivist has to or statist has to say it, that it's these things that is what makes America great. That we can be proud of, the big things that involve the government, winning World War II and saving Europe and landing on the moon, but sort of the everyday things, that this is what we expect of Americans. The Cajun Navy going to Houston after the hurricane, these people who have these amazing stories of freedom because they love America, or these heroes like the policewoman who adopted the baby and saved the woman who was possibly going to overdose from heroin. That these are the stories of individual heroes that Americans love. It's part of our DNA that we're looking for the person to go out there and to be a hero, or the groups like the Cajun Navy, the volunteers to do it, rather than always turning to the government in a way that Bernie Sanders might.
Yeah, and I think your point about it being other-regarding and the contrast between the egomaniacs on the floor and the Americans in the gallery on the second level couldn't be more stark, and I think that has great appeal. He is Tim Carney, senior political columnist for the Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com. Check out their review of Trump's State of the Union at WashingtonExaminer.com. Tim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
You've made the switch, and it feels so good. You've switched to Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.